Let's move down here. I saw big fish out there. Fish. Oh, it's a nice rainbow. Okay. Perhaps one of the most popular flies, mayfly that is a Tricos. It's a minute fly, the size 20, 22, 24, up to 26. They are difficult to see, and the fish go crazy and feed very selectively on them and drive fishermen crazy too. Well, we have a pattern that's durable and is going to float high and give you a lot of good promise on the fish. We will time and shy as 18 so the camera can see all the details. Here it is. We form just a tiny little ball of thread at the bend of a hook, and that will separate the fibers of peccary, which are right here, which we are going to use. Any one of these tiny peccary fibers will make a wonderful tail. So let me find a couple of them. Now, these fibers, we'll tie them at the end of the hook and let them split 1.5 the size of the length of the hook. We'll place them here. and we'll split them with our fingers and drive the thread in between them, like so, and then this one here, like so. We had to trim the excess fibers that we don't need, and then we proceed to find another peccary fiber that's going to be much thicker, which is going to form the abdominal section. Now, peccary fibers are hollow, so they float. But the difference in between that and deer hair or elk hair or moose hair is they're almost indestructible. This is a fiber. If I want to break it, I will have to pull extremely hard to do so. They just don't break. So we'll pick up another one that is not flattened. We'll trim the tip, and that would be the abdominal section of our tricorthus. We place it on top. We give it several wraps until we feel confident she'll stay there. And we'll start winding forward. Very simple. Very fast fly to tie. It doesn't have to be all the way to the end. Remember, these flies are very short in body. And the abdominal section, which is the second part of this fly, is going to be made with materials that also give them a very, very high flotation. So you have nothing to fear with this fly. It will always dry high. That's the abdominal section. We will make one attempt to tie down the little stubby of material right there. There we go. Okay. Now, the second part is the polypropylene wing. Polypropylene, as you know, is a material that's been on for a long, long time. It's a yarn, such as this. We will cut the yarn and pick up just half of that to put on the hook. We'll tie it right at the mid of the hook and split it. We call this a figure 8 or an X figure in between the fibers. And let's not worry if they are not very straight right now, because when we put the dubbing, it's going to help that. This is an extremely fast fly to tie. There it is. Now, for the thorax, we will use again the cul de canard dubbing, and we are going to marry that with the polypropylene dubbing. Now, the cul de canard gives the high flotation, and polypropylene, which is already a floatant, will hold it in place. So first we use, again, the bottle of floatant instead of wax to create the additive. Now, the cul de canard is relatively simple to use. You just use a little bit at a time and place it on the hook, just like so. And to hold it in place, then you take your fibers of polypropylene dubbing and put just a very few on top. And this will hold the cul de canard in place, so it won't be destroyed by the fish when they bite on it. And now we proceed to wrap this in between the wings. This figure 8 works very well, and as you see, it builds a very nice thorax. Now we're going to tie the head. With finished, then we are going to trim the fly. We do this twice. We know that we don't have to use glues. So that's exactly what we'll do. Then we'll worry about trimming the rest of the fly out. There. Now, that's out of there. Then we are going to trim all the extra fibers that we don't need. Spread the wings out a little bit. Yes. And then we try to cut them both at the same time by putting them up, over, and cut at the same time. There. After we clear some of the fibers that we don't want, then we have a finished fly. We are coming to a new stream, and we don't know exactly what's in the stream, so we are going to do a little bit of entomology work, which means we are going to kick some rocks and put a kick screen and try to figure out what's in the water before we start casting flies out. All right, Tom?
This is a typical freestone stream. It's fine to start with. Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got so far.
Oh, yes.
Okay. We've got
we have some very big.
Big drake nymphs here.
Look at here.
Now, a lot of it depends on, look at,
Yes.
you know what this is?
Crane fly. Yes. Oh, wonderful. Some of this fly, some of this Mayfly nymphs, when we get the camera closer, you see this. They're just about ready to hatch. Their wings are almost fully formed in this. The wing casing is showing up very clearly.
Now, one of the things that you find besides caddis in a freestone stream like this is a lot of sprawler nymphs.
Yes.
This is very fast water.
Yes.
And these are the sprawler and clinger type.
They're very strong, muscly legs, and with nice hooks on the end. They cling to the string. This particular Mayfly, sorry.
That's all right.
Do not make very good swimmers. These nymphs, they just cling for dear life, and when they get this lodge, they have this dead drift and they roll into somewhat of a ball and try to dive for the bottom of the stream for safety. Yeah.
I just want to stretch this out.
Okay.
Let's get it out of the shadow too.
All right.
There we go.
That's this stone caddis.
Stone caddis. This is a case caddis, and they'll make their case out of anything. These are green drake nymphs right here.
Yes. Oh, and they look beautiful and well developed.
These are Erythrogena nymphs right here.
She went back to home.
Yeah, here's another one in here right here. Yeah, this is a little green sucker. This is a little bright green sucker, a little brown one.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks like you tied it. Its wings are on backwards, Oscar.
Using the same system that I did when I tied the tricorthos, meaning the peccary, the cul de canard, also the polypropylene dabbing. We will tie other flies, other mayflies. This is a P.M.D. See if you can adapt the same system to your home waters. I already selected 2 fibers for the tail, and we'll place them over here, and they'll be separated by the little ball of thread that we put at the bend of a hook. When we separate this 2 fibers, then we're ready to put the abdominal section, which is also made of a peccary that's much larger. I already have picked that 2 here, and you can see the diameter is much bigger. So we'll attach this to the tail end as well. Okay. Now we will find a way to segment the abdominal section by winding forward the peccary. I will reattach this momentarily. There we go. And here it is. The coloration comes afterwards. First, we just need to make sure that we have a nice, even looking body. Just like that. About one more wrap is going to do it. Right there. And we'll make sure that we attach that peccary fiber. I'll use my clippers not to ruin my scissors. There. Now, it comes the spinner. What makes the spinner is the tail and also the polypropylene. And here it is. I already cut polypropylene fibers from the yarn. We will place that on top, and we are going to figure 8 them, just like that. Across the other side, and do about 3 or 4 wounds on each side. When we feel that it's securely placed, then we're ready to start doing our dabbing. Our dabbing again consists of cul de canard and also the polypropylene dabbing. And again, we will be using our floatant for a way to dab in the thread. First, we put the cul de canard. And not very big bunches, just the small proportions. And again, we are going to use the polypropylene very sparsely to trap the cul de canard, which quite often get destroyed by the teeth of a trout. As you see, it becomes a very smooth dabbing, and that's what we are after. Now we'll wind this in between the wings, back and forth, behind, give those wings plenty of support. There. I need to clear the eye a little bit. And before we start trimming, we're going to whip finish it. We'll do it twice so we don't have to use glues. Now the trimming job starts. We need to trim this so it looks nice before we start painting the quill to match the body. So let's see. we're going to pull the wings up and trim. I will shape a little bit the wings to give it that spinner look. Now we're going to use a marker to mark the rest of the body quill. This is a permanent marker, and it will mark those to the color you want. Okay. After you trim all you need to trim, the wings, the thorax, you can see that you have achieved a fly that is going to entice any trout to be taken. Do you think we need to put more? Yes.
Okay.
Cutthroat.
Okay.
You still get deeper, right in the tip. Yep.
Pump him up and down upstream until my hands freeze.
Yes.
So 51-degree water. The nice thing about it is they revive very quickly.
Yes. The brown drake hatch is one of the most sought-after hatches in the Midwestern streams, being Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and many other states that do have, not as frequent and not as a study as this, still use a brown drake. We will find one right now. First material are hairs from a peccary or a wild boar. These are very strong and they support the weight of the fly in the water very well. So we'll take 2 of them. We try to even them up, like so. Then we will be about 1.5 the length of the shank of a hook. We'll tie them up on top several times. They will trim the rest that we don't need, such as this. When we get to the tail, we have to separate them. This will be in a spinner style fly, which usually fall down on the water spinning with the wings spread open and sort of the tails. So that's exactly what we're going to try to replicate. Now you see how the tail have a split evenly. And the next material is what we call fly foam. It's a floating foam that I cut into strips. And then we need to, with the scissors, get a taper, like that. And that foam will be applied here. There. Now we will drop this forward in a very loose style, one overlapping the next, such as that. You can see the segmentation is starting to form, and that's going to be crucial to have the good looks of a brown drake. Also, by using this, you allow the fly to float higher because of the foam. This is a closed cell foam made exclusively for fly tying purposes. The next material is deer hair, another material that floats. This has been colored brown, and deer hair has a property that floats. So we'll get a clumps of this, and we'll cut it just like that. We'll try to take the smaller hair that we are not going to use, clear them. Then we will place the hairs in the hair evener. When the hair is even, you open and take from this side. And again, we'll trim all the hair we don't want. We'll cut this right here, and we'll put this on top of the fly, making sure always that you take all the excess hair out, just like so. Then we will work the thread forward using as a guideline the wrappings of the foam. Separate the tails, and we'll come back in the same mode that we went forward, making sure that we have used the ribbon of the foam as a guideline. There. And now we'll trim the rest of the deer hair. Okay. When we do that, we'll finish dropping with our thread all those little loose fibers. Take a good look. All right. Now, next, we need to have the wings. And the wings come out of a hen back. We'll find 2 of them that we could use. One. And 2. Now, it's very important that we match these 2 feathers back to back, such as that. Then we measure that the feather is the same size of the shank of a hook. When we got that, we trim the axis. We will place them on top, pinch, cover. There. Now, we need to move this forward, wrap a couple of times, then we'll separate the wings. There. Then I will use some of this material, which is new daub. And we'll place this underneath the wing and tie, and go in front, tie again. Make sure it's very nice and stiff. There. Now we need the hackle. The hackle is brown rooster. We need to find one that matches, or 2. These 2 are going to be perfect for the coloring. We'll match them. We'll pick up all the extra and cut them off, just like that. Then we're going to trim this. Put on top, in between the 2 feathers, between the 2 wings, I should say, and tie it. Excuse me. There. Next, we'll move the new dove forward. This will give us some volume and hold the wings spread apart. There. Pull them back a little bit. Wrap this forward. Just like that. 2 more wraps. There. We need to leave enough room for the head. Now we take our scissors and trim close to the hook shank, like so. There. Now we'll use our rotating hackle pliers and we'll start winding the hackle forward. See how new dab helped to hold the hackle in place, so it will have a better flotation and it become more durable because the base is already supported by the fine hackles. Now you can do this with another type of dabbing, but this seems to be the best for me, so I will keep on using something that is got such a wonderful qualities. And there we are. We'll secure that. We'll trim. And then we proceed to wind the second feather. And there we go, forward again. Just as we did the first one. Oh yes. Now we need to trim the hackle out of the way. Just make sure that the wings are in the right place, that the tail is nice and straight. Now we're going to move back everything and proceed to tie the head. There. Now we finish this before we straighten the feathers out again, especially the wings. One more time. Okay. There. We trim this. Move the wings forward. Make sure that everything is right. Underneath and forth. And then we proceed to give them a coat of a fast drying cement. Very light. Protect the hairs and the thread. The same system to tie a brown drake is used to tie the hexagenea limbata, and the color changes and the hook is much larger, but the system is the same. This is another option you have for a Mayfly. Ecco. Cutthroat. Weapon, and on this we took the larva. Okay. Look at the Mayfly. Look, take a look, close look. Watch the hole. Look, show it. There's a cutthroat. You see the slashes right here? That's a cutthroat. This is Rocky Mountain.
Yellowstone
River cutthroat.
Pure strain Yellowstone River cutthroat. Orange fin marks, distinct black tail marks, little eye patch under the left fin, little cutlass under the right. Now,
Watch it, the larva. You don't want you to get it.
now let's take a look and see what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
Besides Oscar's flies. You
can get it all, huh?
I only got. You don't want to do this any more than twice before you get that fish back in the water, walk him. A lot of times in a little mountain stream like this, if you'll walk the fish behind your knee, that gives him a little shelter.
He breaks some of the current.
And you let him do it until he is ready to swim away on his own. Goes off. Just look at the breathing.
Of all the burrowing styles Mayfly, the hexagonal limbara, which exists in most of the northern states in the United States, is the largest one of the burrowing style. The Fimerella changes and molts its skin about 13 times before it reaches its maturity, before it emerges as a fly. So it's always available to the fish, and it is a must in any fly box, especially in the northern states of the United States. The first thing we need is some soft hackle from the base of a feather of a cock. We pick up just a little bunch, about half the size of a shank of a hook, and we place it at the end. Now notice that we have made a little ball of thread to be able to make the fibers span. Such as that. In the tail, there always are 3 well-pronounced fibers. And those will come from the tail of a pheasant. So we'll get 3 of these fibers, and we will place them and measure them about the length of a chunk of a hook, and they will stick out in the back. That will give the illusion of the fly being a lot longer, therefore become a bigger meal for the expecting trout. And the next part is also a clump of fiber from the tail of a pheasant. But this time it's a little bit more. I have never counted them, but there may be about 12 of them. And we put the tip, we tie the tip end first, just like that. Bring that to the very end of the hook. Now take a look. You can see that it's well tied. And in a feather, you have the primary hackle and the secondary feather right here. Well, I cut one early, secondary feather, which I will use for the gills, and that goes next. Then we will put some of my favorite material, the new dab. We'll place it in this side of the hook. The next material is this style of tinsel, oval tinsel, medium size, and we'll attach it to the end of the hook as well. And as you have seen so far, one of my favorite materials is this dental floss. Dental floss is waxed and will hold materials quite well. The winding of this is perhaps what takes the longest to make this fly. You need to achieve the cigar shape, as we have done with other, and try to get a taper so the fly will hold the shape or obtain the shape we're seeking. Make sure it's very nice and taut. Good, very nice tight, and go back. Not all the way to the end, so you start making that taper. Only probably about this much, and then you go back forward and create that taper we desire. Incidentally, when I lived in Michigan, this fly became my staple fly, as we would say in America, the bread and butter. It became quite used, first by my friends and then by the public in general. And it was baptized with my name, so we call it today the Oscar Hex. And I will wrap some more of this here to make sure that we achieve a very nice and wide and thick body. There. Follow halfway through, turn over, trim what you don't want, and then, again with those pliers, we'll make the body flat. There. Now we will wrap forward the new dub, which will add a particular sparkle to this fly. This we will carry to about 2/3 of a hook. And it has to be in this light pale yellow coloring. Now, of course, like any flies, you may substitute this material with other product that you may feel that is something more available to you. However, this is one of the best I ever worked with. There we go. Just enough. One more time, we'll flatten this. And now we're ready to bring forward this material, which is going to be the gills of these flies. We see where they end, right about here. I mark with my fingernails, take it back, and then I'll try to peel all what's left that I'm not going to be using. Now this side. There. And fold forward, and we'll attach it to the fly right there. Make sure you use a very strong thread for this, because you must apply a lot of pressure to this fly. Let's trim what we don't need. There it is. Now, the next material is a medium-sized tinsel, and for that we're going to require our dabbing needle to help to separate the materials. The first 2 wounds you don't need it, but after that you will. Okay. Now we'll separate pull through, separate, and pull through. We'll continue to do the same. And again here, got too much wound to go. One, there, and the last one, right over it, there. Then we must trim what we don't need. And again, with the pliers, we're going to flatten this material. Now we bring forward the fasten. Tying hexes is almost like tying a puzzle, one part at a time, and they all eventually merge to make this wonderful fly work. All right. Before I continue, I will pick up some segments of fasten feather that I have already pre-cut and have them ready, so it will save us some time. And we'll take 2 little clumps of that, one in each side, which we'll be using as a wing case. I must put a little bit more. I'm not happy with what I put there first, so there. Now I feel I have plenty of that. Next, I will attempt to attach this feather that I saved earlier. I saved several of them that have use. One of them will do. We'll attach the tip first. You'll be doing a lot of trimming, so don't need to trim the tip. Just attach it right there. And then take the axis out. Now I need some chenille, gold in color. This is small chenille, and it'll work quite well to make this fly absorb some water and sink to the bottom. When I get what I want, I'll trim the rest. There. Then we'll wind this forward. This is a very bulky fly. It's supposed to be that way, and you need to achieve that in order to get the fish convinced that this is a hexagenea limbata. There. Next step, we wind forward the hackle. Always pull back with one hand and attach with the other one. You continue to see the segmentation show. We need not to be too concerned about just how much segmentation we're getting, just enough to make it look good. We rotate this, and we attached. Trim the excess feather right out of there. Take that. Okay. With your fingers part this, and then fold forward your fasten tail for the wing case. Yes. Now, before you get too close to the eye, you need to trim. As close as you can. Trim all the excess feathers out of the way. There. Now, we're going to make a very, very thick head in which we're going to mount the eyes. Yes. Now we will finish this once or twice just to achieve a solid wrap. The fly won't come apart. Do one more time. And if you need, as I feel I do, a third time. There. And then we'll trim what we don't need. There. Now let's go through it, make sure that we have all the features we want. So the fly before we start trimming. And my first trim is turning the fly upside down. There. And trim all the bottom. Obviously, nymphs don't have legs in the bottom, so we must trim them. And then, in an angle, we'll trim the legs and the gills. Or like that. One shot. Go the other side, do exactly the same thing. And the fly is almost finished. Except for the eyes. Most of the features are there. Sometimes I like to retouch them a little bit. Okay. To put the eyes on the flies, we'll use monofilament and a flame. First we turn the fly on the side, and then we'll apply flame to the monofilament. Then stick it to the eye, the head. There, to the thread that makes the head. Then we'll trim with our clippers. And we turn this and do the same thing in the other side. There. And of course we trim that too. Then, using our huckle guards, we will protect the feathers and the top and proceed to make a round little ball of monofilament. That's done, you go, turn, do the other side. Once you feel you have the eyes to the same size, then you can paint pupils on them with a marker. There. It's very difficult to make both eyes look exactly the same, but they suggest the eye very well, and as long as the child doesn't mind, I won't mind either. Before I cement and put the finishing glue throughout the fly to protect all the materials, I will try to make sure that I don't have any hollow spots. And then the 60-second glue is used. Very sparse, just what you need. Now we must do the underneath of the head too. Yes. You can see how the eyes now become part of that head without making a tremendous bulk. And why not touch up a little bit on the top again? Yes. And one more time here. Oh, very good. Now, we must rotate this to ensure that it dries well. And I believe the fly is finished. Rocky Mountain whitefish. It's like a bonefish of the Rocky Mountain. They don't run as fast as bonefish by any means, but they have a shape and look like. There, he took the caddis larva. Can you see? Okay, we're going to let him go. Generic nymphs are especially important in fisheries in which you have several types of nymph that match the color and size. This is one of them, and it's called the ribbon fox. Though the material has been changed for modern materials, the name remains the same. The first material we will use will be just any brown feather leftovers, something that you may throw away. You pick up all these fibers and turn them into a usable material for the tail of this fly. About half the size of the shank of a hook, and we begin to tie the materials on. We will use a golden rib. Any golden rib material would do for you. This is a tinsel. It's very thin, and I like it thin just to suggest a little bit more glitter. and also the segmentation of the abdominal part of this nymph. The next material is new dab. This new dab will represent the coloring of the Ephemerella nymph. And again, to make the bulk of the fly without adding any weight, we'll use dental floss, wax dental ribbon floss. This floss will give you a tremendous volume without adding weight, and because it's wax, all materials will stick to it, and also you can shape it any shape you want. And we will see that in just a little bit. Right now we're going to make a cigar shape again, adding plenty of pressure to it. The cigar shape is present in most nymphs throughout the world. This is the longest part of the process of tying any of the fly in which you use this wax dental floss. I am certain that you can find other materials to do this, but for me this works best and is very economical. Add a little bit of pressure and continue to do this several times until you achieve the size and shape. Ephemerella nymphs are a burrowing style nymph, and therefore they have a more consistent body than their cousins, the clingers, which are usually showed them very flat in shape with very stiff legs. Also, these nymphs are extremely good swimmers, while the clingers cannot swim at all. I think we just about got the shape we want there. Now we shall finish this. We'll trim, discard, and now with our pliers we will flatten the body. And we can do this again after we put the new dab. Now we wind the new dab forward, and you immediately start to see the wonderful look that gives the translucency of the material. This is saving you a great deal of time in dabbing over and over with whatever dabbing you choose to use. And it goes just about right to the middle of that, and we will finish that. That's it. We trim this, and one more time we will flatten this. There. Now we can bring forward our tinsel and segmentate. Yes. There. There. there, there, and there. Most ephemeralized nymphs has gills that are very apparent and they sit right behind the wing case. So to imitate the gills, we're going to use the fuzzy part right here of a regular cock feather. And we put a little clump of this at the side of the hook, right here. There. Now we'll take another clump and we put it in the other side. Yeah, we need to trim it yet, so and we'll trim also this. There. Now we're going to use a material I chosen. It's a gift ribbon made of polypropylene, and we'll part it like so. Then with our scissors we fold one time and we'll trim. There. And then we'll attach to the hook right there. There. The next part is to put a different color for the abdominal the thoracic section of this fly. The abdomen is darker, the thorax is going to be lighter. And we're also going to try to put immediately the legs of this fly. For that, we pick up another one of these wonderful feathers and peel off all the fuzzy stuff out of there. And this time we're going to attach it this way. We can always trim later. There. Now we'll bring forth the lighter color new dove. We want to do this a couple of times, go over, build that, just like that, and finish there, and trim. Now let's see if we can flatten this a little bit. Yes. And then we put this feather forward. These are going to be the legs of our fly. Yes. There. Pull it. There. And we take our scissors and trim the axis. Now, with our dabbing needle, we will help to fold. First, we're going to mark with the thread where we're going to cut. Then, we'll to cut one there, and then like that, and another one here. There. Now, again, with the dummy needle will help to fold this in shape. Take all those feathers back. And now we'll attached. Try that again. Attached to the head. Yes. We must trim what we don't want to use. Out of the way. There. It will make a big head. There. Now, must we finish this? Yep. And do it one more time. You must use the pliers to flatten the head of a fly first, which you'll see why it's needed, and the rest of the body, so you can obtain that look that is necessary for a fumarella. And then we must put eyes, and for that we need to use a monofilament, which we used before to do other flies, but it's so effective. So let's see how it works. And now the other side. Then we will protect the materials by using a hackle guard. We'll cover the materials here and make a little ball with heat. Yes. The same in the other side. When this cools off, then we use a marker to make pupils. With the marker, we cover the head. And we apply quick drying cement, nail polish, glue, whichever you have available. The legs are different length. You just simply trimmed off with your scissors. That is a ribbon fox. Rainbow, but boy, it's feisty. Little rainbow. I have to load it because I can't reach any further down. The line is stuck in the gap. Most freestone rivers has rock clingers. One of them is the Steinonyma foscum. I created a fly called the Oscar Fellu, which we will tie now, and you'll see some of the features that you will find in most rock clingers. This fly was originated in a size 16, but today we'll be tying them a bit bigger so you can understand and see all the features. First, of course, we need to put the tail on, and for that we need just one feather of rooster in a brown color, and we just pick just one, like this. And we will use the soft fibers to begin the tail. Just the soft fiber we attach to the end of a hook right here. And we let them spread. Then we trim the rest of it, which we don't need. And the next is pheasant tail. We need 3 or 4, trout can count, 3 or 4 of this fibers. We measure the length of a shank of a hook, and that will be sticking out of the back. Okay, that's the tail of this fly. Next, we take the center section of an eye of a peacock, such as this, and we'll remove one or two of those fibers. We only need one of them, and we tie it at the end of a hook. Bring the thread back, and there it is. To be able to build the fly without putting weight and make it heavier, we're going to use a dental floss. This dental floss is waxed and is found in most stores. All you need is just a little piece of this, and we'll attach it to the hook. Because it's waxed, every material you put into it will remain secure, and because it's waxed also, you can shape this with your pliers to any shape you want to, as we will see in just a few minutes. So now, let's wrap this tight, very tight, all the way to the end of the bend of a hook, making sure that all your materials stay together, and then come back, and then we're going to form like a cigar shape, so it is tapered on both ends and fat in the middle. We'll continue this process as fast as we can, but this will save you a lot of time, and what you usually would be doing is dabbing this material. By using this, you're saving all sorts of times and adding a new dimension to your fly time. These materials are very inexpensive. Dental floss, you can find a container such as the one I have for few cents and could last you a tremendous amount of time. Now, you see how the cigar shape is formed, and we're putting a lot of pressure on this to make sure that it stays firm. And firm is really your key word in this fly. Just like that. We are about done. Whoops, excuse me. There. All right. And then we can finish it off like this. Take our scissors and trim what we don't need. And now, using, as we had all along, our flat pliers, we'll shape this flat. Most rug clingers don't have a very round body. It's relatively flat. Now, with a marker such as this, we will color over and underneath of the fly. And we will wrap forward the peacock. Okay, let's do that. 1 and 2, leaving a space in between, and 3, and probably one more time, and 4, there. Now we bring our thread back, and we'll attach that, just like that. There. We'll trim the axis of this, and we get a brown marker, and we'll dab in between, in the top. There. Now a little drop of this cement will help to ensure that this doesn't slide. There. Next, we need more peacock feather, such as this. But this time, we'll take a segment such as this, 2 of them. Then we'll attach them against the last wound of peacock that we had. And we'll go over several times and trim. There. And now we're ready to tie this part that will simulate the gills of this fly. There. Next, we must attach the wing case, which will also be made out of pheasant tail. Okay, we just simply take a segment of this pheasant, put it together, trim the aspects you don't want, and attach to the top. There. Next, we take our brown feather that we had before and pull back all the materials there. So we trim the tip and we attach it to the hook. We have extra, we just put our scissors there and trim. Okay. And one more time we're going to use new daub to accentuate and give the fly the sparkle it needs. These are 2 different colors. They are going to offer a contrast into the fly. Now, we'll tie them together on top of the fly, top of the wing case. Make sure they're nice and secure. And then we're going to use the translucent one first. That will allow us to build the body and give a bit of a sparkle to the whole fly. I'll roll it in a minute, you can see the underneath of it. We are going to secure that over here, just like that, and we'll cut. The next is the orange color, and this is going to offer a wonderful full body contrast. Oh, that looks very nice. Okay. I'm going to cut this. Now it's time for us to bring forth our hackle to make the legs of this fly. Remembering that this fly has a very stiff legs. They are not swimmers, they are clingers. Their legs are muscly And when we cut them, you'll see how they will represent the legs of these flies. We get to the end, push those back. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, now we trim this feather. Okay. Pick up these materials and put it all back with your fingers. Now we take a dabbing needle and separate all the feathers, all the fibers, before we put the wing case on. How's that? Okay. Pull back the feathers. Yes. And then we'll bring forward the fasten tails over all those feathers, just like that. Pinch it. With our fingers, we'll and we'll trim. We need to finish the head. It's going to be a very, very fat head. Yes, just like that. And we will finish before we trim the legs. One more time. Okay. We are going to get our dabbing needle and pull all the feathers to be nice and fluffy. And with our scissors, we'll trim the legs. Once we get the legs trimmed that we want, we'll give them shape. Okay, now we need to put a glue or finish at the top of the wing case. Okay, and that should be the finish terror. Some of the most available flies for a trout is the damsel fly, especially in slow-moving waters or in lakes. They exist as an adult, tiny, blue in color, and fish recognize them. But when they are very, very young as a nymph, they migrate in tremendous amount of numbers to the shore to be able to hatch, and then it's our time to use a damsel fly. The first material is a soft hackle, something like this. And what we use first is this part right here. And we take just a little clump of this and attach it to the end of a hook. That will form the tail. Right there. The second material we will use, it is what we call a nymph rib, larva lace, liquid lace, all of them work. This nymph rib is half flat and half round, and we must make a cut in an angle to avoid to create too much of a bulk. Then we attach it to the hook, making sure that the flat side is down, like so. And give several wrappings to make sure that you have achieved this. Then with the thread, we will build the body so it's uniform in shape. About 2 more rounds of this, and we'll be ready to start wrapping this material. There. You will try to wrap 2/3 of a hook with it. There. And we'll secure it with the same thread. And then we'll use our clippers to finish off the job. There. Now, let's tuck in all the ends. Then we need to go to a little bit of a fasten tail. This is the fasten tail. It has 2 sides, 2 colors, and we'll take a clump of that, just like that. Roll them. Then we'll place them just there. There. Then this material we'll use is this feather that earlier we have taken all the other fibers out. We'll peel this and we'll separate like so. Then we'll attach this end after trimming. There. For the thorax of the fly, we will use new dab. New dab, this material will save a lot of time and will give you all the sparkle and the evenness that you need. We'll try to build this. And now we can fold over the feather. Once it's done, we clip right there. Then we'll use our dabbing needle to separate the fibers as we use the new dab to provide us with a very, very nice thick thorax. Always making sure that your feathers stay to the side. We will also trim whatever is axis that we don't need. And at the end, we'll have a beautiful fly. There. And there. When that's finished, we'll trim the new dab. Now we can bring forth the wing case. And we'll trim the axis of feathers. Damselfly has a very, very big head and huge eyes. And once we form the head, I'll show you a way of putting eyes which you can use for any nymph, especially small ones, that normally will give you a hard time. This one won't. This will make your job easier, much easier. But we must build a very big, fat head first. This is what we're doing right now. Okay, we finish. As always, I like to whip finish twice. And we'll trim. There. With our flat pliers, we will flatten the fly, especially the head, like that. which will elevate the thorax. And we'll trim those legs later. And now we must put some eyes into it. For that we need a hackle guard, and we also need some monofilament. The way to do these eyes with this monofilament is going to allow you to tie flies very small and still put eyes on it. First step, we turn the fly over on the side. Then we ignite and attach it. When that's done, you can trim. Turn the fly the other way and do the other side. Right there. And we'll trim. There. Now, with this hackle guard, we will protect all the feathers behind. I'll show you. With this, put back all feathers, and then with the flame, allow the eye to become a little ball. Now we flip the other side and do that in the other side again. Again, we protect the materials. And we allow that to become a little ball. To obtain a darker eye, we use a marker and we make as a pupil. Turn over. The last step is to be able to cover the fly with a glue that will dry quickly and protect all the shells and the eyes. Now I'm going to rotate this to allow it to dry even. And we are going to rotate that fly so we can see all the details. Another option for the damsel fly legs is to use some emu feather. And also, there is a chance to put rubber legs. This will add more movement to the fly. There it is! We got him! Okay, we got one fish in the fighting, and I don't know how big it is, but they surely fight hard in this current. We're going to try to get in the slow water over here and try to land it relatively quick because you don't want to stress this fish out. Oh, it's a rainbow. Not a very big fish, but it's really give you a nice fight. Oh, he's off. Well, we got the right fly, so let's go up upstream. Maybe we can get some more, okay? Come on now, let's go.